And we're live. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of ChiroSecure's live event. ChiroSecure's live events educate and support you, the practitioner, by making sure you have the information you need to protect you, your practice, and your future. I'm your host of today's show, Dr. Alan Weinstein. We have a special guest today, Dr. Dean DePice. He's going to talk about the associate-driven practice. Dr. DePice has been practicing chiropractic since 1987. He pursues a balanced focus on the practical application of science and philosophy upon patient outcomes. He builds team-driven practices, cash practices, and lifetime care practices as all part of the cornerstone of his TLC coaching program. He's a compelling and uplifting CE instructor. He's advisor to leaders and presidents of colleges, and he's an uplifting and inspiring coach. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to the person responsible for these live events, Dr. Stuart Hoffman from ChiroSecure. Dr. Stu?
Thanks, Alan. I just want everyone to know I'm appreciative that we can get someone like Dr. DePice on a program with us, because he's been a good friend, he's been a good colleague and mentor to myself and so many others in our profession. I have nothing but unbelievable respect for him, and I know you will too once you hear some of the key things that he gets to share with us, not just about associate-driven practice, but in terms of being a chiropractor. And part of the purpose of being on today's program, and we'll interject a little bit as we go along, is to make sure that if and when you have an associate, that you stay protected, you help your associate be protected, and you keep your patients doing very, very well. So a good friend of mine, it's an honor and a pleasure to have him with us today. I want to introduce my friend, Dr. Dean DePice.
Great. Hello, Dr. Stu. Hello, Dr. Allen. Did I do this correctly with turning the slides on?
Not yet, but you're going to get there. So what you need to do is just on the left, you'll see that green icon with the white arrow on the left side of the big window.
There we go. Are we on?
You're perfect. It's all you.
All right, great. Well, this is a privilege. You know, I've been in practice since 1987. My wife and I are both chiropractors. We graduated school within about 6 months of each other. And we love practice, and this is not something I do because I dabbled in practice for 6 months or a year or 3 years or 5 years. We practice nonstop for 20 years, and I found that the conversation of the associate-driven practice is just, to me, it's an abysmal mess in our profession. And when we clean up the why behind why we do things, I see incredible things improve about the how that we do things. So I'm going to share with you from an extensive amount of experience in practice, as well as helping people in practice, what I've put forth in the associate-driven practice. And it's really to love the profession. It's our experience that if I inspire and draw chiropractors out to really be able to verbalize their heart's desire, the love that they have for what they do, then how they do it always has a sweeter taste. When I first get people to talk about their heart's desire rather than their firefighting problems to solve, or how they're running into another mess with another associate or another mess with another CA, and I say, wait a minute, let's just stop. What's your heart's desire in practice? What's your heart's desire in going home at night? And when we bring these worlds together and we match a congruent efficacy between what you love to do in practice and how it should help you do what you love to do at home, and that the two cannot work separate from each other, they actually feed each other, I get doctors to clean up who they are in both venues, and incredible prosperity comes. And let's face it, the associate-driven practice is that dream everybody talks about, well, I want to work more on my practice than in my practice. And that's a nice ism, and it's been around for centuries, and more recently Gerber went over it. But even when Dr. Gerber helped try to write a book to help the chiropractic profession write on business models, I mean, it really wasn't in the trenches of functioning in practice, and it became this thing that was more about business management than getting people to reveal their hearts. Today, you must sit here and reveal your hearts. You must get clear the why behind an associate-driven practice. And I'm going to urge you that one of the classic stupid mistakes people make in going into associate-driven practice is that they think that by hiring an associate, they're going to grow their practice. Stop it. We can end the talk right there if you really get what I just said. You don't need a management model. One of the dumbest things you could do is go into hiring an associate doctor and the only thing you got on your side is a management model. You have to have your practice already so insanely prosperous and spilling over with prosperity that you have growth to give away to another person, and it's in that you're going to heal the profession. You see, I see the associate-driven practice as a voice of hope in the profession. There are a great many chiropractors who are clinically great chiropractors, but the idea of them ever succeeding in practice is dismal. It's ridiculous. They ain't going to do it. They suck at business. They suck at hiring or training or standing by the disciplines of well-run business, but they're incredible adjusters. They're incredible clinicians. They're lovely people, and they deserve a place to work. And some of you that can be competent at opening a successful practice, you're the ones who should then become humble enough to fix up a team-driven practice that then one day builds an associate-driven practice so you can raise up other chiropractors who need a place to practice. This thing about the associate-driven practice, to me, is an actual sacred trust inside our profession that is untapped. And one of the reasons it's a mess is because most of the people who've been looked at authorities on how to run associate-driven practices didn't really develop a model. They're just sharing with you something that by hook or crook worked with them, and most of them worked with associates who quit in 2 years. What the heck kind of training is that? Stop it. Try to raise up relationships with people that are going to last forever. I just got off of a training call with nearly 400 CAs from around the country, and we're talking about how in DePice chiropractic land and TLC land, we have CAs that have been with us 24 years, 22 years. You need to develop a team-driven practice with CAs that are so mission-driven that God forbid you die, they're going to step over the body and look for the next chiropractor and say, yeah, he was a good guy, but here's our new one, because they're there for a mission. And you need to develop that before you bring an associate in your house. So if this seems like I started out by shooting water with a fire hose while you just wanted a sip, well, I'm sorry, but let's get moving with this. This is a serious rescue potential for our profession. That good, clear doctors need to hire associates because their own practices are so spilling over with prosperity. So let's click through some statements here. My opening slide says clearly, stop. Stop doing what our profession has made the mistake of doing for years. Don't follow what everyone else keeps doing with associate-driven models. That's a mess. Do gain classical habits. Those of you who know me, I started my college degree at Mannes Music Conservatory in New York City, where you'd learn to play a 72-page piece of music by working one line at a time until a line was perfect. And then you'd work on the next line till that line was perfect and add it to the first line. Now you have 2 lines that were perfect. And then you'd work on the third line till the third line was perfect, add it to the first 2 lines, play the 3 of them till the 3 were perfect, and you do this for 72 pages. It may take a year to work on one masterpiece, but you know what? The associate-driven practice is the masterpiece of our profession's hope. Schools are churning out doctors who cannot succeed. Schools are graduating people with $250,000 in debt, while the graduating doctors in practice are barely earning $100,000, $115,000 a year. The hope for our profession is in the practicing doctors who are successful, taking others under their wing and teaching them that you can gain incredible success in practice. The average TLC associate doctors are earning between $85,000 and $135,000 a year, not having to worry about hiring, firing, and other things. But you have to do the disciplines, and you have to train with the tools of mastery. And I'm going to tell you simply, the 7 levels was based on the single most proven and tried way to ever hire someone and train them, the U.S. military. When you sign up to be, let's say, a Marine, what are they going to try and do with you in your first training? They're going to try and break you and get you to quit, so that if you're a quitter, we're going to find out before we're in the battlefields. And I'll talk about it in basic format, but it teaches that the 7 levels means that in level 1 and 2, associates start out humble and ready to train. So, if you want an ADP, an associate-driven practice, doctors, the first thing you must have if you're on this line listening is you must have a TDP, the team-driven practice. That's what it's got to be. The team-driven practice. You've got to mature it. You've got to grow it. You've got to have CAs who own it. You're crazy to bring an associate doctor into a house where you have CAs that are just a few months old. You've got to have CAs that are women matriarchs, We want women who own that house. We want women who feel like they are the mothers of that house. We want women who do not allow the house to run left or right. So the first thing, doctors, if you don't have a team-driven practice, stop the lesson plan. Don't do it. And I have a dream that's playing out in scores of practices now where host doctors are building their team-driven practice, moving to an associate-driven practice, and they're raising up associates that we call in TLC matriarch or patriarch associates. These are associates that are never going to leave. Now, there's ways to get this that you have to be clear about. The first associate that you get is looked at as the one that must be the matriarch or patriarch. After you have a matriarch or patriarch associate, it's fine to hire ones that will come and go every 2 years because you can help them go out and open their own practice, but you can't start with that. You got to start with attracting a doctor that's going to raise your ADP, your associate-driven practice, and the practice you're in, doctors, must be called the flagship training headquarters. In other words, as you open up other practices, no one is ever hired to work at those other practices. They're hired and they train. A CA must train 3 to 6 months at the flagship training headquarters before they can be set free in a satellite practice. So there's a lot of rules about raising the associate-driven practice that mean the first thing you do with an associate is they must be loyal to the one practice, the flagship practice. They must work with you, doctors, as will one day be the CAs and everything else. So there's a bunch of rules to all this. But the joy, of course, is you get to stop working in it and you get to start working on it. Be careful, as I said, that's a cliche that's been used in a lot of business models that's nice and sweet, but a lot of people who use it and bring it to chiropractic didn't live in a chiropractic practice, practicing for 10, 20, 30 years, staying married for 10, 20, 30 years, making sure that the kids they had one set of parents for 10, 20, 30 years. And guys, if I sound like I'm preaching stuff that upsets you, well, you know what? Maybe that's the stuff you need to hear, but this profession needs leaders that are here to protect marriages, here to protect family, here to protect children. And I'm not saying divorces don't need to happen. It happens, but we got to get our house built strong. And our practice is like a marriage. You're married with those people you work with. You spend more time with them than your spouses sometimes. So I'm encouraging you to work on building up disciplines and a team that's built on rock. Make sure that your life with your CAs is built strong. And then when you're spilling over with more prosperity than you know what to do with, then you look at hiring an associate doctor. All right? But you've got to already have a growing practice. It has to be growing already. One of the dumbest mistakes I see all the time is, well, my practice isn't quite growing. Maybe I should hire an associate so then we can grow it. Well, that's like people say, well, honey, our marriage isn't great. Why don't we have a baby? That'll fix things. Can I be more candid? I mean, it's so simple to not do stupid things. How is it so many times we do stupid things? So I've got to share with you one of the ways that I make sure that we are going to end up with a practice that the first associate is the right associate. And I'm going to blow your mind with this, and that is this. Don't you ever hire someone who's green out of school. Stop. There's another point you could end the whole conversation. I'm giving away million-dollar tips in this. There's a tool on the TLC website called the 7 Steps of the Associate-Driven Practice. I'd love after this conversation for you to go there and buy it. That would be a smart thing to do. But even if you don't, I'm going to give you some amazing pieces of it. If you're I'll try to fix it myself and figure it out with the free stuff I get online. Well, this is some of the free stuff. One of the dumbest things you could do is hire someone who's ready to run out there and conquer the world, and after about 8 weeks in your practice is going to tell you how to fix all the things you don't know and are doing wrong in your practice. Stop it. Let me give you a tip. The first requirement you have of selecting someone is that you better select someone who is matured, ideally someone who has failed in practice profusely, someone that has failed because their business acumen or their hiring and training or leadership acumen is broken, but they are clinically wonderful. They have hands of accurate clinical joy. They are able to touch you and adjust you and leave you to feel that calmness that only hands that are connected to a solid heart can provide. Guys, at the heart of every matter is the matter of a man or woman's heart. And the greatest associate doctors I ever see show up are the ones that they're humble enough to know they're great chiropractors, but they failed in business and they're ready to work for someone. I love if they're married. I especially love it if they have kids. I love it if they're shackled with all sorts of debt, but mostly that they have the humility to shut up, settle down, and work in the practice. That's level one, is hiring the right person, and the right person isn't going to be the perfect person. They're going to be a good person, and the good part is they're humble, they've been worn down, but they're ready to now work somewhere, and they need to work somewhere, and they don't want to own the place yet. That's the first stuff we got to work on, is setting all that up. Just as a quick glimpse, I'm going to tell you that in the 7 levels of the TLC's associate-driven practice, level 1, you're hired as a tech DC. And you got 8 to 16 weeks to get out of that. And in that model, you're going to grow very quickly, but you got to get through 250 community interactions. You've got to learn my 5 primary scripts, and you can plug any one of your things in there, but you got to have the criteria laid out. You've got to work 2 weeks as a CA at the front desk, 2 weeks as a CA in the financial office, 2 weeks as a CA tech, 2 weeks as a CA doing PR, and you've got to complete X amount of community interactions. And if you don't complete those tasks in 16 weeks, you're fired. This is what I'm talking about breaking them young. They got to be humble enough that they're cleaning the toilets and they're grateful to do so. But when you get a soldier who's willing to take orders, yes sir, and go to the front line and defend the person left and right of him, now you're starting to show me we got someone. And I have all the pay scales laid out. So from level 1, when you accomplish that and you've started at the right financial base, level 2, you get a raise, a major raise. I give you a raise of $100 a week, a $5,200 a year raise. You can get that within 8 to 16 weeks. Complete level 1. Simple. Level 2, everything's laid out there. You got 8 to 16 weeks to complete level 2. If you do it, boom, you're done. And you get another $100 a week raise. You're going to get another $5,200 a year raise, which means totally within as much as 32 weeks, possibly as little as 16 weeks, you're getting a $10,400 a year raise if you do the TLC steps of step 1 versus step 2, level 2. Level 3, now you're going to start to work on adjusting, but you're not unleashed to adjust, and we got all the rules on how to pass adjusting. And nobody brings a different adjusting style in my clinic. My patients should not be able to tell the difference between your hands and mine. What's another dumb thing chiropractors do? They invite somebody in with different techniques. Next thing you know, your house is more of a mess than it was to begin with. You got patients saying, well, I like when Dr. Smith does my ankle, and I like when Dr. Dean does my neck, and I like, stop it. Everybody does the exact same. Now, unless you've got such a diverse fleet of chiropractors, and some of our doctors in TLC have 8 and 9 locations, or they have 4 and 5 doctors out of 1 location. We have many different models that work. Until you're diversifying that big, your first matriarch, patriarch, associate doctor must be a clone of you. That's how you protect the house. All right? So there's a lot of rules in there, and I have everything in the 7 levels laid out for you. A little glimpse at how detailed TLC is. If you look at this right now, I teach this entire process that you might see on your screen, which is how I outline all the disciplines that the CAs are cloned at. And if you look at this model, you have the model of how the doctors in the practice, the front desk CA, the financial CA, the tech CA, and we play zone studies, kind of like you do on a football field. And we've got 33 team disciplines here that match the 33 principles of chiropractic. I mean, I'm a classical artist. I said to you, I went to Manus. I bring that classical nature to everything I break down and teach. And that's why whatever success is for you, whether it's 100 visits a week, 100 visits a day, 100 visits a morning, I don't care what your numbers are. I care that you're stretching. All right? I don't care whether you're collecting $80 a visit, $200 a visit, or $400 a visit. I care that you're clinically competent, sound, and moral in what you do. We have people in TLC who do NUCA, people in TLC who do Toughness, Pettibon, Gonstead, Thompson, SOT, any technique. We aren't playing privy to a particular technique. We're not playing privy to workman's comp PI or cash, or, you know, we're playing privy to that you are playing all out with disciplines. And I would ask you to write something down. Discipline equals freedom. When we live with discipline, that means people see a yellow light, they slow down, and they're already stopping before red hits. And that means the freedom to know my little 4-year-old kid learning to ride a bicycle who might do something stupid at an intersection is safe because people live with discipline, and I'm free to know my child still lives today. How many times are people slaughtered or murdered because of lack of discipline? Drug companies administering drugs they know haven't been tested, and they slaughter 50, 60,000 people a year, and we're not even talking about it. Chiropractic is the answer for good living. Chiropractic is the answer, the true answer for healthcare. Chiropractors need to become better at living with the disciplines of how they treat their employees, their CAs, and their host doctors, their associate doctors. So all this stuff is laid out. So I got to ask you right now, stop. Get a pen and paper out and write these questions down. Are you ready to hire an associate doctor? When is the time to hire an associate doctor? Well, what's one of the answers I already gave you? If what? If your practice is spilling over with more prosperity than you know what to do with, you're ready for an associate doctor. That's it. Now, I can give you the exact numbers depending upon where you live, how many thousands a month should you be prepared to spend and all that. But are you ready? Are you spilling over with prosperity? Once that happens, then you got to start looking. And you got to start thinking, and you definitely got to get the 7 levels of the associate-driven practice. Look, you don't need to coach with me at all. You don't have to talk to me again the rest of your life. This tool will serve you forever. And even though I'll describe TLC disciplines that you can use to train with, you don't have to use mine. You can use the Fred Jones system of whatever that you do and plug in those disciplines and say at level 1, my candidate needs to graduate with these 5 disciplines, this many outside connections, and this many weeks of working in each zone in the office, and they graduate from level 1 to 2. But I give you the beakers. It's like the perfect lab desk to work on. I give you all the beakers, the flasks, the stations to do everything in. So you got to start studying the 7 levels. If you look at the tool, you have audios that talk you through it. You have a workbook that talks you through it. You have a wall chart that shows you the 7 levels and what should happen in terms of responsibilities, outside responsibilities, scripting responsibilities, competency of clinical work responsibilities, money changes that happen. And as I work in the bonuses at levels 4, 5, and 6, we provide bonuses that accelerate growth, and then as they grow, we take away lower bonuses. So if the associate doctor ever settles back down, which is common, the pathetic story in America is most associate doctors die at somewhere between 90 to 120 visits a week. And I'm going to tell you the host doctor doesn't earn any real money from an associate doctor unless they're between, I'd say, 175 to 300 a week. And that's where the big breakthrough is. And the money isn't the reason, but you got to be having great prosperity. A lot of people who hire associates, the associate just ends up paying for their own presence in the job, and the house isn't really prospering from it, so why the heck are we doing it? And then the host doctor becomes bitter, and they end on bad terms, and within 2 years they're saying goodbye to each other, and they're unhappy with each other. Well, great. That's wonderful for the profession.
Dean, can I just interject a little
Sure.
bit here? First of all, the information you're presenting is awesome. As a lot of the people on this live show know, I've had massive amounts of associates over the last 33 years. What you're presenting is terrific. And one of the things that comes to mind is that if I can summarize a couple of the things that I got from it so far, is you're indicating about, you know, when you're looking for that first associate, bet on the person, not on the so-called deal with that person. And everything that you're talking about is really all about quality of people and relationships, which I really appreciate. And some of the things that we even talk about at ChiroSecure from a risk management perspective, and I don't know if you want to touch on this at all, maybe yes, maybe no, either way is okay. But when you're training these associate doctors, I find that it's very, very important for them to set their own intention before they even go in to see a patient, because they have to be focused on purpose, which you talked about, with a high intent. And you have to be professional and create exceptional rapport with patients in order to have long-term patients, whether you're the owner doctor or an associate doctor. But that was always a little bit more challenging, if I can talk from my successes and less than successes, in terms of being able to motivate an associate to be that person. And one of the things that I learned from what you're sharing today is, rather than always having to create that person, you're actually finding the person and then bringing it out of them. Am I hearing you correctly in that?
I like what you said. Yeah. I mean, I do that with the doctors as well. Yeah. I want to draw what's best in you out of you, but isn't that what a great coach does? I mean, they find good players. They're not always going to find the perfect players, but they're going to raise an extraordinary team by bringing what's best in each of the players. If that's what you're saying, yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on a risk management portion of this for a second from our perspective before I let you finish it up, because these shows have been terrific. It's just a limitation based on timing of them. But one of the things that we always recommend to the doctors that are bringing on associates is to make sure that you know what type of malpractice coverage to get them. I'm not talking about who to purchase from. Obviously, we prefer doctors come to us. But it's important to know a claims-made policy from an occurrence policy, but more important is what is the difference for the owner doctor, because when we coach our insureds, we always coach from the top down, because just because an associate is told to go out and buy their own malpractice policy, that doesn't necessarily mean that the owner stays protected very well. There are things for the owner doctor to do to make sure that they are protected, their corporation is protected, as well as the associate doctor. And I'm not going to get into all of that for today's sake, but since we're talking about associate-driven practice, I want to bring that out and just share that as my thought in terms of from reducing risk for the owner doctor, because there are a number of things owners need to do. And your 7 steps to an associate practice, I haven't seen it yet, but from all the things that you've presented today, if I still had a practice and I had associates in that practice or thought about it, that's exactly what I would be doing. You've been an awesome coach and a good friend. I encourage anyone and everyone to check out what Dr. DePice does at TLC for Super Teams. He is all that you've heard and more. This is a very limiting topic if you want it to be, but as he said, it's absolutely something that can heal this profession by expanding on what we do in our reach within the profession to the public. So I just wanted to share that part on your behalf, Dean.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Dean, why don't, as we wrap up the show, why don't you put some kind of summary together and I
guess I owe you guys an apology. I thought it was a 40-minute curriculum, so I apologize. I planned on stopping at 35 minutes and then flowing in. So tell me when we're done here. Are we done now?
Well, we have a few more minutes, so go ahead and close up. We're going to send everybody a copy of the notes, of course, who signed up for them. I'll close it out. So why don't you spend the next few minutes wrapping up, and then I'll close out the show.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, my urge to you was I laid out a bunch of things here. We don't have time to get into them about selecting this doctor, and it's a great point he was bringing up. But the ADP is a work in progress, and you're going to have to tune and train as you work on it. And I would just challenge you this. Stop trying to circumvent the steps. You know, there's so many things that are laced in here that are just stupid things doctors do. So, for instance, the host doctor, I'll leave you with one pearl and then I'll tie it up. There are 100 ways to screw this up. I'm going to give you one of 100 possible screw-ups. And don't think because you got this one, you got this game down. One of the stupid things host doctors do is they have an associate doctor come in, and next thing you know, the associate doctor is becoming the primary care physician for the CAs. The associate doctor is becoming the person the CAs go to as the authority for their body's care and the care of their kids. That is the stupidest thing that a host doctor could do, because now you're turning over the built-in authority and emotional connection and the heartfelt why from the CAs towards the associate doctor, and the host doctor is no longer the king in his own kingdom. There are 100 ways that our profession has not prepared us to be good hosts of associate-driven practice. I'm telling you, this is not a subtle twist on old models of associate-driven practice. What TLC is doing here has never been done in the profession before. We have a 100% batting average. Why? Because we melt down all the dysfunctions in these relationships at levels 1 and 2. So by the time we get to 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm not joking with you. I'll put you in touch with as many doctors as you want. We have a 100% track record. If someone gets through levels 1 and 2, no one has quit on bad terms. Nobody has quit, period, in the rest of the levels. And we're looking well into 100+ practices with TLC associate-driven doctors in them. So there's all sorts of mistakes to look at. I always like to say at the end of my talks that this is not the end of the conversation, this is the beginning. And listen, I'm not in an environment that's new. I know a lot of people can feel like, you know, being with me is drinking water from a fire hose. He's too opinionated about this or that. Let me assure you, my love is for this profession, and I am inspired by the ideals that we can do so much good if we just get together and work. As one of the leaders of the profession, his picture's on here right now, Jerry Clum, one of his happiest things to say when he sees me is, Dean, I'll never forget the first time I heard you on stage, and you taught me one thing that I've never stopped living by. And it's this, that in all the success books you'll read, in all the fancy audios you might hear, no matter how many Tony Robbins or other kits you'll buy, there's a chapter that's always missing. And if it's not missing, you missed really getting it. And it's the chapter that says this: no matter what you work on, it's not going to work unless you're ready to work really, 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 really hard. And what I tell you up front is that you're going to work hard. In most places you go, somebody wants to convince you if you do this, it'll be easy. It's not going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be hard, but it's worth it. It's like raising kids. It's like protecting a marriage. It's hard, but it's worth the rewards because people need people sticking together in the long term. So wherever you guys go with this, I mean, there's so much to gain from it. The fact that Dr. Stu and Dr. Allen are providing a venue like this where more leaders in the profession can bring you a great conversation, that's awesome. I'll be quiet. Thank you guys for having me here.
Dr. Stu, you're muted. You're muted. Okay, I think Dr. Stu doesn't realize he's muted. If you can unmute yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to Dr. Dean. I've known him for a long time, as I indicated, and you know, having had massive amounts of associates and number of different clinics, I learned today, and I hope all of you did too. And that's the purpose of what we're doing with these ChiroSecure live shows, bringing quality people, which is what Dean was talking about in your own practice. That's who I want to surround myself with, is a quality person like Dean DePice, his wife Jen, and all the people that he associates with. So I want to just let you know that we appreciate all of you attending, and I want to let Alan close out the show today.
Well, fantastic. Great stuff. I want to just have everyone take a look at the website you're watching this show on. You'll notice on the right there is a form to fill out. If you enter your name and the information required, we'll send you a copy of today's transcript as well as Dr. Dean's notes and some of his slides. And if you look right above that, you're going to see an image for our concierge service. And if you click on that, it'll take you to a page where you could sign up so that you are automatically sent the notes, the transcripts, and everything related to our live events going forward. So make sure you do that. And I have one special announcement that I'm real excited about. Let me just go ahead and bring myself back and then change screens. And this is, I'm going to share this right now. On December 9th, you want to mark this down, we have Dr. Heidi Havoc. Dr. Heidi is a researcher, and a lot of people don't know that a percentage of the proceeds that goes to ChiroSecure goes back into chiropractic research. ChiroSecure is always giving back to the profession. She's going to be talking about what her research shows about subluxation, and she has a new book out called The Reality Check, has a gorgeous cover, and everyone who comes to that event will actually get a copy of the first chapter. So with that said, I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein on behalf of ChiroSecure, Dr. Stu Hoffman, and a great presentation by Dr. Dean DePice. We'll look forward to seeing you on December 9th. Don't miss it. We'll talk to you soon.